So, I plan to continue to honor the memory of spooky season with my words and deeds, no matter what happens, no matter the time of year, the place, whatever. And I refuse to let anyone stop me. So, to that end, I have finally watched the second season of Wednesday, and I thought now would be a good time to talk about it and the show in general. Because honestly, I have weird feelings about season one in particular. It became very clear to me that it is a show totally disinterested in the Addams family, despite being about Wednesday Addams, which is fine because their true intentions, I feel, are to tell their own story about weird, wacky characters in this sort of teen drama meets occult mystery meets creature feature meets kind of an obvious Harry Potter ripoff. But that story is actually pretty compelling, honestly. I don't hate any of the new original characters introduced in season one or two. And if you recall my video on Severance, anything you'll know that anything with Gwendolyn Christie in it gets points in my book, because I just love Brienne of Tarth, and she's a really good actress, honestly. And obviously, Jenna Ortega was kind of a slam dunk as Wednesday. I think she was a very good casting, and she plays the role very well. But it seemed to me that, especially in the first season, um, the show's biggest missteps were to do with the other members of the Addams family. Okay, so Catherine Zeta-Jones as Morticia was well acted for the most part, but her story just kind of comes across as a little forced. They're trying a little too hard, it seems. Like it doesn't feel very natural, especially for these characters. And if we're being totally brutally honest, I honestly think that even especially in the first season, Catherine Zeta-Jones comes across as a little too healthy to play Morticia. As far as the sort of gaunt, vampiric, very harsh features, she comes across as a little too normal. Um, Meanwhile, though, Louis Guzman, is it Louis? I don't quite remember. Anyway, Guzman as Gomez, he looks the part. He looks like the original cartoon character, like almost exactly. And I mean, seriously, but he's so reserved in this. It doesn't get much better with the second season. He though he does play a larger role, he's just very quiet, and he looks the part rather well, but he doesn't have much of the passion that you associate with Gomez Addams. He's like he says everything with a whisper, and he's very calm and stately, and very collected, and he doesn't really enjoy the role, or seems to enjoying the role. Not like Raul Julia in the movies, who had the passion, right, the fire in his belly, the madness, the drama, the agility. He was Gomez in manner, the raving lunatic, the romantic, the fearsome, wild, swashbuckling Prince of Darkness, and we don't really get that with Guzman's character all that much. And I think it's an intersection of both writing and acting in that part. Not to knock the man. I mean, I'm sure he's been in plenty of good things. I haven't seen him in much, but I don't. I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I'm just thinking he might have been a little bit miscast in this role. Um, but okay, the rest of the Addams family is passable. Fester actually does a pretty good job. And Pugsley is not Pugsley, really. But he's fine. He's okay, and I do think it's fun that like instead of casting a kid who looked like Pugsley, they cast more in keeping with the family and how the family would actually realistically look. And also, does he look a little bit like Raul Julia too? Am I just is that like completely out of the realm of possibility? Anyway, in the second season, the kid gets to shine a bit. He has an interesting story, and while he does act a little not super like the character, it's fine because he acts like an original character of the show. And as I said, that's where the show stands out. Their own original characters going on, original stories, these cleverly devised, weird, crazy adventures. And the first season was fine, but I think the second season is better. Um, the second season had a bit of a slow start. I'm not gonna lie. I've always liked the weirdos, the wacky characters. Enid is a very fun partner in crime for Wednesday. The kind of quirky, bubbly werewolf girl. I think that's a good premise for a character and a good foil for Wednesday's perpetual gloom. You know, but in the second season, we get another character that I very much enjoyed. I think the addition of is her name? Her name's Agnes. In the second season, this invisible girl. I think it was an inspired addition, and I think it immediately improved my opinion of the second season. She's this creepy fangirl, so creepy, and that it like they gave her some funny lines and eventually a decent storyline, and I think it kind of appeals to this like in some ways it was kind of that classic sense of oh no, kids are in danger, because she's like 12 years old and there are like hides and zombies and serial killers about. So like almost pretty quickly I was like worried that this small child wasn't going to get in over her head, and or even worse, like Wednesday was going to put her in danger and it was going to turn out bad. um, and I think that worked really well. It created a bit of investment in the story, and yeah, also another character that was added was they roped Steve Buscemi into this season, and that was pretty great because I just like Buscemi, and also him playing this like villainous scumbag principal was kind of a genius move. I think he played it rather well, and I kind of want to slightly spoil this season just a bit, a little bit. Nothing major. But I want to talk about the zombie, the zombie who gets to be later on, and this is the tad spoiler. He's a little less than a zombie. Later down the line, he's regenerates a little bit, and we learn the story of this mad inventor turned into a shambling undead, trying to regain his humanity, only for it to be revealed that he has an even more complicated, more interesting backstory later down the line. And he is a freaking good villain for this show. Very well acted, well performed, and crazy. He's got a good villainous team, if you will, which I won't spoil who that team is, but he's just so bombastic and over the top. And I mean, they start playing Phantom of the Opera for God's sake uh, when when he's up to no good, and it's he's just so dramatic and crazy, and it's a great villain for a Tim Burton production, and that all does tie into the real shame of the show, because the zombie is more dramatic and more over the top than Gomez freaking Addams in this. And he's more over the top than Pugsley or any of them, and that is not okay. Because the most dramatic person in any room needs to be Gomez Addams, and I'm just gonna say it. I think this is kind of a terrible show about the Addams family. It is, however, an amazing, great, wonderful show about a moody psychic goth girl attending goth Hogwarts with her werewolf best friend and her creepy invisible stalker, which just so happens to have a bunch of people cosplaying as the Addams family thrown in for good measure. Um, and I am looking forward to the next season, because of course I am, and I do hope that it is picked up and that they keep doing well and they keep doing right by the parts that are good about the show. The later end of this season is truly, honestly spectacular, and um, really that's in spite of their poor treatment of the Addams family itself. I mean, seriously, it's an amazing show if you can only ignore what they've done to Gomez and family, which is hard, I know, but I, a diehard Addams Family fan, was somehow managed to do it, and I think you could too. So, yeah, bye.